My partner Ryan asked me a question. He said, Chael, what do you think is the fight of the year? Now, I was pissed off when he asked the question for one reason. I hosted the World MMA Awards. So he just outed himself that he did not watch me. And my opinion on what the fight of the year is does not matter. Whatever the World MMA Awards says is the fight of the year is the answer. At a minimum, we owe them that respect. You bet your ass we do. Our community gets together once a year for an award show, and whoever won it wins it. Now, let me tell you my problem. My problem is, as the host of the show, I was in the back. I cannot remember if they did that. I cannot remember if they had a fighter of the year. Justin Gaethje was there. What is the relevance? The relevance is, if you want to know who I think the fight of the year is, it was Gaethje versus Chandler. I can't guarantee you, without going to the use of the internet, which I could have done 5 seconds ago, but then I would have nothing to talk about. I can't guarantee you they did that. And if they did do it, do they see it the way I do, which was Gaethje versus Chandler? And not to mention, there was a few that were up for that award. I even had a joke in the opening monologue. My favorite fights of the year, who could forget Joe Rogan versus Dr. Fauci? And of course, Dan Hardy versus Herb Dean, right? So here's the thing though, guys. If you were to look at the fight, Paul Daly had a great one. Many people believe it was Ortega versus Volkanovski. You got no argument from me. That was something special. However, with that one exception, there was no other fight that was put in the fight of the year candidate that was a 5-round fight. They were all 3-rounders. And I think that there's a relevance there. It's not very often that you get a classic in a 5-round fight, but when you do, boy, does it stand and withstand the tests of time. The reason that I have Gaethje versus Chandler, I am not convinced if that was 5 rounds we would look at as quite as fondly. Those boys were tired. Now, that will offend them to hear me say that. I was not tired. I was in great shape. You were exhausted, but you should have been exhausted. You didn't manage your energy for 25 minutes, nor should have you. You managed it for 25, which is why we got every punch, every shot, every scramble out of you. It's not an insult here. Don't hear it wrong. But yeah, they were exhausted. So then you're just left to guess. Could have they done that another round? Could have they done that another 2 rounds? By the end of that fight, they were pretty busted up. And in all fairness, I just thought it was the best fight. And that was the best fight of the year. It was amongst the best fights I've seen. I have a short memory on that. I have a very short memory on that. And I'm sure that you guys are guilty of that too. But that fight was very special. And it was special to me because of all the championships and all the paper that came into that contest. Michael Chandler has won everything there is to win except for the UFC title. Justin Gaethje has won everything there is to win, including the UFC title. You want to talk about cross-promotion matches that are only a dream within our sport? You want to talk about super fights? When you're doing that, you're talking about champion versus champion, or you're talking about a champion of this organization versus a champion of this organization. By God, that's exactly what we had. Michael Chandler's won everything you can possibly win. And was a second away, by the way, of the big one. Gaethje's won everything that you can possibly. They put it all on the line. And one thing that I didn't know about Justin Gaethje is that he's an athlete. I thought that sumbitch was just tough as an old leather boot, and that is where it ends. The most athletic thing I've ever seen Justin Gaethje do inside that octagon is his celebratory backflip off the top of it until he fought Michael Chandler. That is the night when I realized when he was picked up off the ground, he's got no senses, turned his body and hit a leg pass when he came down to the mat. And that was even the moment Michael Chandler broke in that fight. Now, Michael Chandler regained. Generally, when a fighter breaks, he does not come back. He won't be back for another 5 months. He's got to go home, hit the showers, take a couple of weeks off, get back in the gym, sign a new contract, prep for. When you break, it's very tough. Michael Chandler broke in that moment and then came back. It was amazing. I gained respect for Michael Chandler because I know how frustrating that was for him. I know the exertion of energy. I know the I have you moment. I've got you. And then to have that adrenaline dump reversed in an incredibly athletic display by a guy that you don't know is athletic. It was an amazing contest. Every time I talk about that fight, I talk about that goddamn leg pass. I don't talk about the right hand. I don't talk about the interruption. I don't talk about the eye pokes. I don't talk about all of these great. I don't even talk about the outcome. I forget all the time who won that fight because it was so awesome. And for me, both their stock went up, right? How annoying is that when a guy goes, the winner of this fight, you don't know who was the fans. This was just, man, I don't ever do that crap. And I'm annoyed by people who do. This is the one exception. I forget all the time who won that match. Both guys are more sought after now than they were when they went in. But I remember that position. I remember Justin Gaethje left the ground. He had nothing but Newton's law of physics working against him. He rotated his body. He came between the legs, and the moment he hit the canvas, he hit a leg pass. And Michael Chandler dropped. He was on his knees, and he dropped. He put his forehead and his elbows on the mat and goes, my God, what just happened? Chandler regained, which no athlete is good enough to do. Chandler was. No athlete's tough enough to do. No athlete has the grit and the determination. Chandler did. But Gaethje still hit the hold. So the World MMA Awards, I was in the back. Ryan's busted. He didn't watch it at all. I have my excuse, which I was in the back. I'm assuming this was contested. I'm assuming I'm not the only one. So I'm even assuming that they won it. But whether they did it, they win it from me. Fight of the year, Ryan asked me my question. I'm just answering it for you guys public. Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje.